Welcome into the Capital PTBO Sports Show, an MNC podcast production streaming wherever you do your downloading. Also simulcast on your TV, Peterborough. Lindsay, come and check us out at the store, the Capital PTBO at 370 George Street North. Coming up on the show today, the Jays are hot again, tennis enters a new era, and the record machine is back by popular demand. All of that plus our best bets for NFL week number 1. You can support the show anytime by becoming a subscriber at patreon.com/capitalptbo. Shout out to everyone who has joined us on Patreon. Mark Millions here, producer Matty once again. And correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but at the beginning of every show, we spin the wheel of no winning.
No.
The wheel of win nothing.
The wheel of win nothing.
No matter how you say it, as long as you watch it. Now, Matty's got it up on the screen behind us, which you can't see, but you can follow along here on screen. Jimmy is pumped. He's been in this week. He's 3-0. So we've got Jim Murray, Dara Scollard, Brad Sinclair, Matty Latour.
Yeah.
Now, it's a fatal four-way here again this week.
Yep.
Jimmy is pumped. He's been working out. He says he's been taking his vitamins. I don't know. We'll see.
And we had a photo finish last week.
So let's see what happens here.
It's spinning.
The wheel of win nothing.
Oh, the streak comes to an end.
Oh, convincingly.
That's about as decisive as it gets.
Congratulations, Dara Scollard. Dara Scollard gets his opening victory here on the tour. So congratulations, Dara. You're 1-0.
There you go. Great stuff. And his name is on the blackboard over my left shoulder.
Correct.
Great stuff. Gentlemen, what's going on? How are you guys?
Yeah, good. The back-to-school craze is over.
Yeah.
So for all of you guys and girls that are at home or watching or listening, however you consume our product, hopefully you had a great and safe back-to-school.
Yeah, interesting for me is that my daughter is entering junior kindergarten, and it's a real soft launch.
Oh.
So what they do is her first day is actually Friday. Mm-hmm. And then there's another off day Monday, and then Tuesday it starts full time. And even the Friday is just like an hour long.
Just a meet and greet.
It's a soft launch.
I don't want to be the old guy, but that's getting too easy.
Oh, Latour, trust me.
Well, I want to be my first day of kindergarten, I asked to play in the sandbox with a grade 1, and he said no, and I cried. That's how kids should be raised.
That's a little foreshadowing to what my daughter's experience is probably going to be like on day number 1.
It's a way different animal than it was, obviously, 35 years ago or 40 years ago when we went to school. For us, we had our second oldest started her first day at college away from home. So that presents different challenges. Like, I'm 43, but we're almost empty nesters. Almost.
That's pretty good.
It's weird.
Yeah.
You have a 20-year-old who's, comes and goes as she wants, an 18-year-old now that lives away. We have another 18-year-old. Cole will be 18 in September. And, the kid works 40 hours a week in school and football and girlfriend and all these things. And then our youngest, she went into grade 11.
Jeez.
We're almost at the end of the tunnel, Mercier.
I'm sure you can appreciate, in my situation in particular, just the juggling act that you have to do as a parent.
Oh,
where
my
it's
gosh.
like, oh, wait, they're near. Oh, okay. Now, reverse pre-pandemic, workplaces didn't really let you work from home that much. Mm-hmm. Now it's a little bit more common, so maybe that's a good thing that has sort of come out of the craziness. But yeah, it's going to be a different experience, that's for sure. I also want to know who decided that we were going to end school at 3 o'clock when most jobs go till 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Sure. No kidding.
You never realize it until you're kind of in that situation, and you're like, well, why wouldn't we just make it till...
Yeah.
Apologies to my teacher friends who probably would hate that idea.
Sure.
I'm sure after the bell rings, they've still got some work to do.
Yeah,
and they
that's
don't
right.
leave right away. But I was just thinking, like, we could do this better, I think.
The other thing I always found that was strange is the staggering of the start times and obviously by proxy the end times of school.
Yeah.
Like we had one of our children one year had to start at like 8:15 in the morning and the other one started at 10 to 9.
Yep.
Like, how does that work?
That happened with me growing up. My school started at 8:45, and my sister's was 9:30, and they were right next to each other.
At 9:30, like, that's too late. 9:30, it's already done. I would have rather, now in hindsight, when I was a kid, I would have rather gone for the 9:30 start as opposed to the 8:15 start. But I like the idea of getting out of school like at 2 o'clock. Boom, done.
I always went to schools that were sort of a bit later, so I think it was like a 9:15 to 3:45.
Oh, 3:45.
Yeah, just sneak home and watch that Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh, yeah.
At 4 o'clock.
Sure.
Yeah, get right back home. No problem.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyways, yes, and I'm sure as it goes, we've got a lot more viewers. And there's something about Peterborough when school starts. There's a little bit more of a buzz, a little bit more of an atmosphere, a little bit more of comings and goings. I think Trent and Fleming, they both add just a great little pick-me-up.
Absolutely.
For, a big chunk of the year.
Big time flavor add. Absolutely.
Yeah, and shout out to all the Fleming and Trent students. Who are going to be. And I would love to, down the line, as we continue to grow this program, I would love to do a little bit more to shine a light on OCAA athletes and sports.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that would be great. I always think, even when we were extra 90.5, and this have since flipped to Freak 90.5, so you don't have the same programming element, I always thought there was something I wanted to do that never quite got done. And that was, can you have an OCAA spotlight with an athlete? Can you talk ad nauseum about, Fleming volleyball or, and some of the successful programs. I mean, Trent lacrosse, always super successful.
Yeah.
Obviously, the rowing program is renowned. We just were not quite able to, we had too much other stuff.
Well,
going on. But
I interviewed 2 basketball coaches, and both of which were done with the program within the next month.
Yeah, you couldn't
I think I was just the
develop a
bad luck.
rapport.
I was just the bad luck guy.
Yeah. But anyways, shout out to everybody, and we'll try our best to throw them a bone here or there.
Absolutely.
It is Man Cup week. Speaking of great atmospheres, Peterborough is ready to battle Langley for supremacy in Canadian lacrosse. Do you feel it? I'm really feeling it. By the time this airs on your TV, the luncheon will have happened. But that's always like a big kickoff.
That's right.
You get the commissioners there. You get the referee in chief. You get a lot of the marquee players and the coaching staffs. And this is the first time, I know Peterborough has obviously been in it since I've moved here. This is the first time that I've really felt kind of invested in the season. And for that, I'm super excited. And I know single tickets were on sale. Who knows by the time you watch this whether or not there's any more available. But it was kind of the scuttle around my office where it was like, hey, did you get Man Cup tickets? Oh, you should see where my seats are. And that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like Peterborough for at a World Junior Hockey Championship level. This is the equivalent of holding it in Canada. Having the Man Cup here in Peterborough is that equivalent where on Wednesday, season ticket or the single ticket lineup was around the arena. Like it was way out, like onto Lansdowne. So I'm not surprised. I very much look forward to it. Maybe Pete Dalladay, if you're watching, you'll be at tonight's game. But maybe you've got some alumni tickets. You can just slide those over to M&C, or you can slide those over to the Capitol, and we'll look after your
Those
seat
are going
in the box.
hot, probably.
Be on the street scalping them.
Yeah, get in the scalper business. That's right.
I'm really excited because, like I mentioned, the only games I've ever been to for Lakers games have been like championship series. And now I get to go to the Man Cup, and it's going to be a blast. We're going to have 4 people in our broadcast booth, which, if you know the Freak 90.5 broadcast booth, it's not very big. It's probably about the size of this table. And there's going to be 4 of us in there. COVID protocols, of course.
Yeah.
As best you can. Sure.
Yeah, as best we can. But yeah, it's going to be tight. But everywhere in the building is probably going to be that crowded, I think, because they're getting $3,500 a game in the MSL final. It's going to be, I think, pushing 4,000 for the Man Cup.
Terrific.
Best storylines entering the series. Eastern dominance. God, I don't remember offhand, but it's been like 14 of 15 or 13 of 14 that the East has really dominated.
There hasn't been
the Man Cup.
There hasn't been a Western team come to the East side and win it since 1986.
Long time ago.
Like it's a train for sure.
So that storyline, of course, Peterborough going for 4 in a row.
4 in a row.
Something that has not happened since the 1950s.
Correct. The Timberman.
Great storyline. Individual storyline, Sean Evans, with a very strong series, could end up as the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Man Cup. I think he needs about 30-some points.
Yeah, so he's at 100.
Cool.
He's at 178. John Tavares is 203.
Yeah.
Very realistic.
25 points.
He needs 25 points. They need to have an extended series, but it's not above Shawnee to get 7 or 8. He's done it this postseason, actually.
He has. A lot of great stuff to focus on.
I do like the idea too. How many Man Cups is this for Sean Evans?
He's played. I've got the game total. He's played 42 Man Cup games.
42 Man Cup games. So he's played at least for in these 4.
Yeah.
I also think he might have been in on He might have played in the 2012 Man Cup win. I think that might be possible.
Well, they lost out west, right?
They lost out west.
Was that 2015, I want to say? So I would be willing to bet. He's been a staple of the Laker team since I moved here, so that's 2013. So he would have been definitely on that team. You play 42 games in the Man Cup. You know you've had yourself a great career.
You've had yourself a run, for sure. Yeah.
So super exciting. Matt, tell people what your part of this broadcast is going to be. Of course, you could watch it on your TV. If for some reason you don't have your TV, shame on you. And you can pick it up. You can also pick it up via YouTube, right?
Yeah. So on the MSL YouTube page, we'll be broadcasting MNC Podcast Productions alongside JVI Productions, which if you watch lacrosse in Ontario, JVI is probably the source that you're watching it from because they do a bunch of lacrosse broadcasts. I know they just did the Minto Cup with Joe Bowen on commentary. That was a weird watch.
I didn't see that.
Wow.
It was weird watching Joe Bowen do lacrosse commentary because it's still Joe Bowen, right?
Did he slip in the Holy Mackinac?
He did. He did a couple times.
Joey.
Yeah, and then as well, Daryl Smart Media helped put all this together. It's looking like we're going to have the whole 9 yards, knock on wood, replays, multiple cameras, and like I said, it'll be broadcast from the away radio booth, so you'll have a good vantage point as well, and it's free. Like that's the beauty of it is you can watch the Man Cup for free without having to subscribe to one television network or another.
Series goes in the blink of an eye too. There's a lot of back-to-backs.
7 games and could be 7 games in 10 days.
Yeah. So I mean, drink it in while it's here. It's absolutely awesome. It's a great economic opportunity for the city if you've got people traveling in. And each of the games are going to be absolutely packed and sold out. Let's go to the email board, if you wouldn't mind. Our first email.
You've got mail.
Is to Mark, specifically.
Oh.
Mark, if you could land one piece of merchandise for the store, if you have like a dream thing that you would love to have, what would it be?
Like memorabilia-wise?
Yeah, maybe memorabilia or, I don't know.
There would be a couple of Grail items.
The Honus Wagner.
I'll give you a... No, I see it. Like, for me, I don't have an emotional attachment to that. So I will give you a pro level and a local level.
Okay.
On the pro side, I would enjoy a game-worn 1983 35th NHL All-Star Game Wayne Gretzky Campbell Conference All-Star jersey. Game-worn.
I want to say Nassau Coliseum.
Correct.
And it's got the Campbell...
Correct.
Down the sash.
Now, in 1983, Wayne didn't captain the team. Marcel Dion was the captain. I have the replica, CCM replica. It's heavy. The knit fabric. The thing weighs 3 pounds. It's beautiful. I love it. I have the replica, which we're actually going to give away here in the store in a couple of months. Stay tuned.
Nice.
But I would love to. That to me that's my favorite. Of any of the jerseys that Wayne would have worn. That's it. Oh, the Lady Liberty White is also pretty rad, but I've got a buddy of mine, Jordan Pauly, who does this for a living. And that's very difficult. A local one? Locally, I would have to get something from... I'd like to have something from Ray Judd, who's not a Peterborough guy, but... any of his tales of kings in his court and these sorts of things, the stories of pitching legend are unbelievable. Something from Ray Judd. But we did get, shout out to our man, Donnie Wasson. That is a California Golden Seals. Can we see that, Matthew? Is it in there?
Yep.
California Golden Seals, number 22, Joey Johnson, Peterborough's own, NHL All-Star. Amongst the leading scorers on Golden Seals in the early 70s.
You and I both kind of, obviously, neither of us were around to really see the Golden Seals, but no recollection of that particular jersey. But it looks very San Diego Chargers, which makes sense. With the
looks
era,
like a
right?
safety vest. Like, those look like reflective yellow stripes.
Yeah. So I admittedly, we just got it today, the day that we taped, so I haven't had a chance really to do any sort of research on it. But on the front side, it says the Seals, and it's got the captaincy because Joey was a captain. And so that's one of the, the fun things that, shout out Donnie Wasson, like I said, they're very kind with their things.
Those are two very good answers. This email for me, Jordan, you're a tennis mark. Does this U.S. Open signify the start of a new era? A couple of thoughts on this. It's the first time since 2003 that we're looking at a Grand Slam tournament in tennis where the quarterfinals does not feature Serena Williams, Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, or Novak Djokovic. Let that sit. That's 20 years.
Yeah.
That's insane to even think about.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, yes. We know Serena's done. Roger's done. I think he'll play one more Wimbledon, but in terms of being an actual threat, top-tier player. I'm not as quick to say, okay, Nadal, got beat, so he's done. He's literally the number 2 ranked player in the world or number 3 ranked player in the world. He's won 2 Grand Slams. This was his only loss in a Grand Slam. If you remember at Wimbledon, he withdrew because he had an injury.
That's right.
I don't know. If you win 2 Grand Slams in a year, you had a pretty good year.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready. And Novak Djokovic, until somebody knocks him off, is he not always going to be the player to beat, assuming he can
The problem with
tournament?
Djokovic is, provided he can get to the tournament, sure.
So I'm not ready to flip the page totally. What I will say is it's cool to have some younger blood.
Yeah.
When you get into Alcaraz, Tiafoe, who's the player who beat Nadal, it was no fluke. The dude serves 130, moves around really well,
Sure.
extremely athletic, and he dispatched Rublev in the next round pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, I don't think he's necessarily a flash in the pan. I'll throw this out to you guys. Mark, keep quiet because we talked about it. But 70 of 71 Grand Slam titles in the men's draw have been won by European players. So predominantly, we know who those are, right? We know they're Nadal, Federer, Djokovic,
right.
Murray, and Wawrinka. The one is the 2009 U.S. Open when Juan Martín del Potro was from Argentina. He beat Roger Federer. That's how far back you need to go. Not just one of the big 3, but that the continent of Europe didn't win Grand Slam.
Yeah.
And Mark, you're of an era where Americans dominated.
Like,
Connors, McEnroe.
Absolutely. Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras,
Jim Courier. Michael Chang.
You're right. These guys were staples. They were automatics. That was going to be your semifinal in the majority of these events.
Juan Martín, to me, I won't get too inside, but he was always the next one that I thought was going to be great. He just couldn't stay healthy. He was that guy who was 20 and just a wicked, wicked player, but he's one of the great what-ifs. Hey, Matt, this one's for you. I like this.
Uh-oh. I'm scared. That laugh scares me.
Matty, can you weigh in on all the drama around CM Punk?
Oh.
Austin says, I just like to see the look on Mark's face when you talk about professional wrestling.
Long story short,
Thank you.
CM Punk.
That's enough wrestling. Already.
He had issues with a line from somebody in a promo back in May that was a throwaway line nobody really cared about till he brought it up on TV. And it was unscripted. And then he went off during a press conference Sunday night after a pay-per-view. And then there was a fight backstage. And we haven't figured out what's happening yet. Maybe by the time this airs, but there's talks he could be fired and stripped of the title or suspended. So who knows? He's a 43-year-old guy, in my eyes, that never blames anybody or never blames himself for anything, and he gets hurt a lot.
When I watch this and people are breaking it down like unbelievably, is it not just a work?
No, it's not a work.
It's not a work.
Really?
No chance.
Because their big angle that night, and this is getting maybe a little inside, was MJF coming back. That was their big angle. And then Punk did the press conference and made it all about himself. So I feel like
I've seen this 100 times. They have the mock presser and the guy swearing.
No, that was a real. They do that presser after every single pay-per-view.
I understand, but I don't consider it to be a real press conference. I hate there's theater as part of it.
Yeah.
It's more real than the ones WWE do, because they have reporters that'll ask them about stuff WWE's doing as well. And, there's no limits on the questions with those. But yeah, it's some people think it's a work, and that's always kind of a possibility with wrestling. Don't say it. I see you loading up for it over there.
No,
Yeah, 40 more seconds.
I got one more thing.
All right. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets suspended at the least, if not fired.
Okay. Now it's my turn. When we have the budget, as this show continues to grow, can you get me press accreditation at one of these events? I want to be an accredited press person on behalf of M&C Podcast Productions. And I'm going to judge it for myself. I'm going to lay just you guys give me some background heat on somebody there from 15 years, whatever. And I'll see if the guy's really going to fist fight me or not.
Well, AEW is coming to Toronto, right?
Next month.
And the cheapest ticket was like hundreds of dollars.
$175.
It's crazy. It must be that. Is that the first time they're coming to?
First time here, and they're at the former Ricoh Coliseum, so there's less seats to sell.
Is AEW like Jericho and these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is like he runs it?
He was one of the ones that started it,
Started.
along with the 3 guys that CM Punk got angry at during his press conference.
So this isn't a McMahon thing.
No.
No.
McMahon's gone. Like, he's out of the picture.
No, I'm well aware. Bad boy Vince. Is like WWE and AEW? Is this like PGA and Live? Is that what this is?
It's what WWF and WCW was, except AEW's never really been winning.
Yeah.
WCW at least won the ratings for a while.
Okay.
All right, Mark.
That's enough wrestling.
NFL Week 1. Bills and Rams. We're going to get to our best bets here coming up because we're going to give you picks every week.
Yes.
Bills and Rams. I can't think. I'm sure there's been. Look, the NFL's an entertainment product in itself, and it's always good at sort of laying the foundation with a very tasty opener. This one might be the tastiest that I can remember.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
You've got the Bills, who are the betting line Vegas favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen, really good defense. Like, just going to be an all-around great team. If they don't win 12, 13 games, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
Then you get the Rams, Los Angeles, the most state-of-the-art stadium.
Yeah.
Visually amazing on television. Defending champions, Aaron Donald's. Man, there's a lot to unpack.
There's a
with that
lot.
one. It's amazing. So for the NFL, I salute you for having this be, week number 1. I don't know if we can make any grand declarations after this. I think they're both going to be really good teams. I think, to be honest with you, as a bit of a Rams backer, I think the Rams are maybe a little bit disrespected for a defending champ to be up betting.
Absolutely.
Because right now the Bills favored by 2.5 points.
But there's been a ton of money because it opened up, the line opened up Rams on a point.
And now it's Bills
And now
Mafia.
it's Bills on 2.5. You're going to get that. They're Hollywood's leading man, right? Like, everybody loves Buffalo. They just think that this is their year. 13 seconds last year away. It's a shame that one of them is going to start 0-1. Bills started 0-1 last year. They got beat by the Steelers, which was a shock. So if the Bills lose this week, which I have a feeling they do, even though I'm a Bills guy through and through, I think if I'm using my head, I think that there's a couple of questions on the O-line where that O-line, when you start to bring in and you add a few pieces, it can either take some time to gel or you're right out of the gate. You're terrific. Josh is nimble and this sort of thing. I think also missing Tre'Davious White, even though I don't believe he's the best corner in the game. Statistically, he's one of them. But he generally doesn't play well against top-end quarterbacks, but he plays very well against bottom enders, and Stafford's a bottom ender. Sorry. With that elbow, trust me. There's trouble in paradise there.
I will say, I'm going to ask you this question as somebody who's a lifelong admirer of the Bills, as are much of our audience.
Yeah.
Is this as much anticipation you can remember going into a Bills season?
Yeah, absolutely. The Flutie season when they went 10-6 and they put Rob Johnson in game 16, there was a ton of excitement there after you went through the Super Bowl years. Kelly got old and the boys just kind of struggled there. And then Doug came along and he was beautiful. He went 10-5. They put Johnson in. He loses in week 16, of course, because he was 17, whatever. They go to Tennessee. He was horrifying.
Yeah. Not good.
He orchestrates the drive in the end with, whatever it was, 15 seconds left. Comes off the field, the winner. Theismann's all over him. Just, way to go, Rob. You stuck through. And then music said a miracle and it's over.
Right.
Aside from that, this is the team we've waited for. We have the superstar that we've waited for. And you've got the cast. It's not the 90s Bills by any stretch, but it's as close as we've had.
The only time, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the only time where I think you could probably draw a parallel would be, so they make it and they're really, really good. And they make it to the Super Bowl and they lose to the Giants. And then coming back that next year, you knew they were going to be pretty well just as good.
Yeah.
You had Kelly at the right time. You had Thurman Thomas at the right time. Bruce Smith next to Reggie White, best defensive player in the NFL.
Yeah.
So maybe then, but definitely in my years of following the National Football League, I can't remember a time where they'd be a Vegas betting line favorite to win the Super Bowl. So it's
the other thing to
fun to
consider
watch,
too
anyways.
with that, like watching those early Bills, you had a lot of the star power was in the NFC, right?
Yeah.
Like the Giants, the 49ers, a lot of the big players were NFC players. Whereas now, I mean, who's the worst quarterback in the AFC West? And whoever you come up with, the 4 out of 4, is going to be the best one in the Central, is going to be the best one in the South. And, I mean, Mac's a nice player for New England, but there's 6 studs in, Lamar Jackson, I shouldn't disrespect like that, but there's 6 QB studs in the AFC alone.
I could be wrong, and Matt could fact check this if he wanted to, but just to demonstrate the dominance you're talking about, NFC versus AFC, I think there's a run from when the Raiders win their second Super Bowl with Jim Plunkett all the way through to the Denver Bronco John Elway team. I'm pretty sure the NFC won every single Super Bowl in between.
Yeah, right. San Francisco, Dallas Cowboys, Giants, Washington Redskins.
Yep, Packers sneak one in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I'm super excited. Matty, football fan, you pumped for the beginning of the season?
Yes and no. I'm like a lost football fan because
You're drifting off into space right now.
I was a Browns fan, and I like Baker Mayfield, so I feel a little bit disrespected by everything that's happened with Deshaun Watson. As far as the Bills and Rams go, though, you're right. That's the perfect matchup for week 1. Do they always do NFC versus AFC in the first week, like for the first game?
I think they put the Super Bowl champion in and then try to give him the tastiest morsel, I think.
Yeah, they've played around
openers.
with title game rematches. I remember the Vikings and Saints one year was really cool. I remember Broncos Ravens. Peyton Manning, I think he had 7 touchdown passes.
Yes, I remember
which
that.
was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
A record for opening day. We can unpack this now because you're actually going to ask for our feedback on selecting a new favorite National Football League team.
Yeah, like I've
Take
thought
us through
around.
this journey because, I mean, you haven't been with the Browns for a long, long time. Like, you don't remember
Tim Couch,
Timmy Couch,
No.
Kelly Holcomb.
the DA, Derek Anderson.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going back that far.
The first year I watched the Cleveland Browns, they went 0-16.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I'll pick my favorite team out of a hat. And I drew the Cleveland Browns.
Always a good start to a fanship.
Yeah,
a dedicated
loyal,
fanship.
you know? Well, because like football in my family, like my dad liked the Cowboys when he was younger, but he was never like the diehard sit down on Sunday and watch football kind of guy.
Casual in passing.
Yeah, like if Cowboys were in the Super Bowl, he'd watch it. And like that's about it. So I never really watched it growing up. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, I kind of want to get into football. And I didn't want to cheer for the Bills because I lived in Niagara anyway, so it felt kind of like a cheap option. So I ended up on the Browns, which is they went the first 2 seasons I watched them, they went 1-31.
Yes.
That hurts.
That's tough.
And then they had a couple good years in there. You know, beat Pittsburgh in the wild card game.
So your complaint is you were very drawn to Baker Mayfield.
I liked Baker Mayfield. I don't like anything surrounding Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, so you're saying the fact that they went down that road as an organization, you're ready to check out.
Yeah, I mean, and,
Say,
and
okay.
like it's not like I'm super invested in this team. I've got one beanie that I bought right here at the Capitol PTBO.
Correct.
Beanie to
So you don't have to
wanna
ditch
call
all
it.
this merchandise.
No, I don't have a lot of like I'm not burning jerseys in the backyard. I might just donate the beanie. Who knows?
Do we go classic or do we go young team, upstart, quarterback? You know they're going to be good for 10 years.
Yeah, see, I think there might be some value in doing that.
Right.
If you don't have that, if you don't have that historical context of, you know, because dad was a Steelers fan, now that you want to be a Steelers fan.
I don't think I could cheer for anybody in the division though, because I've just not liked those teams for 3-4 years now.
Okay, so
Sure.
we're going to rule out all the AFC North teams.
Lamar Jackson's a fraud.
Ravens, gone.
jeepers.
Steelers, gone.
Bengals.
Bengals.
Bengals
That
would have
makes
been cool,
sense.
but they were good last year, so now I don't want to cheer for them.
Okay.
Like they're fun to cheer for, and they're bad.
We're putting those over to the side. You don't want to do the Bills because you feel like it's a cheap option because they're the most popular team in this area.
And I can't start cheering for a team as soon as they're the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
bandwagon
you kind of
favorite.
got to...
That's the definition
what?
of a bandwagon fan.
I agree with you on that one. You got to kind of find that team. I have a team that I think you could be interested in.
Same.
So I'm going to lob this one out. I'll throw you a traditional and I'll throw you a
New age.
new age. New age, the LA Chargers. Good jersey, visually appealing.
It's either jersey right behind Mark there.
Yeah. Justin Herbert.
Herbert's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Stud.
Hey. Play 4:00 games typically. I think that jives with the sched maybe.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely bonuses to that. I think they're going to be really good. Good defense, good coach. I think that's a perennial underachiever. So no one could point the finger at you and be like, oh, you are a bandwagon jumper.
Big Phillip Rivers guy.
Big Phillip Rivers guy. LT, Quentin Jammer. Dan
Junior
Fouts.
Seau.
Yeah.
Oh, they have Khalil Mack.
They
That's how out of it I've been. I had no idea.
They have a aged very poorly Khalil Mack.
My traditional pick for you would be joining your friend Aaron Canton on the Chicago Bears. Again, new era,
Wow.
new look team, new look offense. I mean, Monsters of the Midway. You can draw on some history.
Soldier Field's iconic.
Soldier Field, which is one of the reasons why I brought this up. Can you believe they actually introduced the Chicago Bears plan to build an enclosed suburban stadium that could host Super Bowls, college football playoff games, and Final Fours? The Chicago Bears playing in a dome just seems so strange.
So weird.
It's crazy.
You've played 90 years on grass in the mud, right?
That's what your reputation is. Run the ball,
Yeah.
Gale Sayers, Walter Payton, and
Yeah.
then you get all these, Dick Butkus and
Right. You've crushed people for years at Soldier Field. Going back to to Latour here.
so those are my two that I'm going to throw at you.
The Bears and the Chargers. Okay.
Yep.
The Bears and the Chargers. I will also give you a new age and a traditional, and I'm going to say for the new age, this is a team that can go nowhere but up. We got a young upstart quarterback that's got a terrific arm. He's got good vision. He's got the right sort of look for the NFL. With now a brand new coach, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, okay.
Trevor Lawrence is a stud for sure. Now he's got himself a new offensive coordinator, and he's got himself a new head coach in Doug Peterson. There's some offensive stability there. At right tackle, they signed a 5-time Pro Bowler in Schneff and 2 new wide receivers. They've got a new tight end in Evan Engham. This is a team that's going to be on the rise. They had Urban Meyer last year. Trust me, it went really bad.
I have a quote here from Trevor Lawrence. The culture changed dramatically. Night and day. Jacksonville. And you have your little AEW
Connection with the Khan
crossover
family.
with the Khan family who owns Jacksonville.
Yeah, Shad Khan, yeah. Shad Khan is an owner trying to do it the right way. After years of not being able to do it the right way, they brought in the perv, Urban Meyer, and then he brings in, well, he is. Check out his video in week 11.
Dancing.
Holy smokes. He gives Tim Tebow a job, which was unbelievable. They signed the athletic therapist from that school that had fired them after he treated the kids differently based on their race.
A lot of bad stuff.
This guy's a loser. But Khan was so defeated by it, that he, after the 4th week in the NFL season, had to openly question, the trust factor that he's got with his head coach. Jacksonville, yes. Okay.
Also, one good thing about Jacksonville, you're not going to meet another Jacksonville fan.
No.
You're going to be waving that flag. And if we had to get you a throwback jersey, we'd go either Fred Taylor.
Yes.
Or Mark Brunell.
Mark Brunell, the lefty. The guy was a gunslinger.
Maybe Byron Leftwich. But yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. Traditional team, quickly. And you can hop on this wagon anytime. You can get off at any time, but it travels well. It's the Green Bay Packers. It travels well, long history, always a stud, great colorway.
I agree with all of that. Jeff Dewick, mutual between all of us, is a Green Bay Packers fan.
Yes.
And that guy's hair is down to his shoulder blades, and I don't want to fall into that trap if I cheer for the Green Bay
Kind of
Packers.
looks like Aaron Rodgers.
Kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I get what he's going for, but I don't think it'll be the Packers. Do you have a hat for all 3 of these teams here, Mark? The Bears, the Jaguars, and the Chargers?
Yes.
Next week, can I put a hat on like it's the draft?
Yes.
I need a bit to sit on this.
I like that.
It's decision week. Absolutely.
If we're going Packers throwback, do we get him a Dorsey Levens? Do we get him or Reggie White?
The Packers are out. It's not going to be the Packers. It'll be the Chargers, Bears.
He just
Jaguars.
gave you the proverbial finger. Right,
Chargers. Okay, so we're going to go with the junior Seau out of respect. Seau was an animal. What?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
He was great
Cheapers,
player.
I thought we were going to go the other way on that.
No.
Okay, the Bears, obviously, we're going to go Ryan
Sweetness?
Urlacher.
Oh,
Sweetness, sure. There's so many.
The refrigerator?
The fridge, sure.
Mongo
I want
McMichael?
that to be my nickname.
And then, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's got a couple like Keenan McCardle. They got a couple
Maurice
studs.
Jones-Drew.
Maurice Jones-Drew, stud.
Yep.
JUCO.
One
that's a
season
tough
of
decision.
Desmond Howard. He could go Packers, too.
You
Desmond
go Packers,
Howard.
too. Yeah.
Great stuff there. So we will we'll follow up on who's Matt Latour's favorite football
It's
team.
going to be decision
But I feel
week.
like because you have no loyalty built into you at this stage, we're going to be having the same conversation in 5 years.
No,
That depends.
No,
He'll jump on the
Latour will
wagon
be
and
no.
jump off.
If he stuck it out this long with the Browns, trust me.
I'm a long-suffering Habs fan.
Yeah, right.
I'm a New Orleans Pelicans
New Orleans
fan.
Pelicans. Yeah, we've got to get you a winner.
NFL best bets for week number 1.
Oh my goodness!
I think we have a iconic cue coming here.
It sounds so good.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're going from talking the NFL now to like let's get down to brass. It's coming now.
All right. Do you want to do gold, silver, and bronze, or how do you want to do this? How many picks do you have?
I have 5, but they're
Okay.
all salty.
Okay.
No faves.
I'll go through mine, and then you, and then Matty. So, just because we've been trashing Cleveland, I'm going to go Panthers minus 1.5 over the Browns. I'm going to go Miami Dolphins, who I like to make the playoffs. I like them to cover the 3.5 against New England. New era, Tyreek Hill,
Miami
tracking down balls.
Miami beat them both times last year. This is a new house of horrors for New England.
Chiefs, I like them to really get going early this season, and I don't believe that Arizona is going to duplicate a year ago.
Goodness.
So I like the Chiefs minus 6. Oh my god! And one underdog in the primetime matchup. I like the Cowboys plus 2.5 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those are my 4 picks that I want you to watch.
You strung me together on 2 of them. Arizona, I can't get behind Kansas City. I think they traveled to
Big
Arizona.
step back.
I think Arizona is. I think it's on the radar. I think Kyler Murray's got it. I think he hot steps Kansas City for sure. Tampa Bay, I can see them in for a colossal letdown after touchdown. Tommy now is going to have some litigated circumstances with his lady.
Touchdown Tommy is going to become turnover Tommy.
With any luck. Dallas is somebody that needs to get out of the gate quickly so that Mike McCarthy doesn't have a stroke and Jerry doesn't have a stroke, and because these guys get angry early. Okay, 5 in a row. Here they come. They're all coming in hot. There was, I think, in the first couple of weeks, there's always value on the underdogs, and I think you've got to just have a look. I do like the Rams Thursday night, and it just pains me to say it, so I'm going to leave it there. Rams. The Jacksonville Jaguars, talking about the Jags. This Commanders team is absolute nonsense. Carson Wentz, and now you've got Doug Peterson, who's on the other side of the ball. Wentz was Peterson's guy, and now Peterson is the head coach of Jacksonville. You can give me that 3.5 points all day. I'm hoping that it'll come down to 2.5. Give me the Jags to cover 3.5. The Houston Texans, I think they're going to be the big time surprise this year. Everybody just thinks they're going to roll down or roll over and die. Absolutely not. Indy has got 14 season Matt Ryan at the helm. Give me the Houston Texans to win it outright. 8.5 point dogs.
Historically, have played Indy well.
Correct.
Most times.
They're at home.
Yep.
There's no expectation on this Houston Texans team, but they've got that. Their RB1. I'm just going to say it. If you're not going to start Houston Texans running back this weekend, you will lose. They're going to go hard on him. The Pittsburgh Steelers are getting zero respect. Zero. Cincinnati, here, hot take alert. We got a sounder for that. We got one for email, and we don't have one for wrestling yet. But hot take sounder, here it comes.
I don't think I have one.
Well, don't worry about it. I just made one for you.
I'll give you an applause.
Thank you. Here it comes. Coming in hot. Cincinnati's not for real. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to No, that you missed it. No. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. They are not for real. Count on it. Also, I think in the late side of it, you can give me the New York Giants.
Wow.
On Tennessee. You can give me that. Danny Jones has to get it sorted at some point. Tennessee's not very good. They've made no improvements. Tannehill's not good. I know Derrick Henry runs for 1,000,000 yards, but that's
Matty,
the 5.
Best bets for you.
I've got all 3 of my potential favorite teams winning. So you mentioned the Jaguars over the Commanders. Commanders are a joke. Chargers over the Raiders. I think Justin Herbert gets out to a strong start this year.
Ooh, Raiders. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Raiders for me, like every year, it seems like they're a bit of a letdown.
How can the Raiders be honestly considered Super Bowl faves? Like, I know Devontae Adams makes a difference, but does he move the needle that much? That AFC West is going to be a barn burner.
And the Bears, you talked about how there's a lot of energy with that team and how it feels like fresh energy. I think they're going to come out really strong in San Francisco.
Wow.
I don't know what the odds are. I didn't look at those. I've got a tab open here, but I don't know how to read odds.
You're just going straight money line picks here.
I always do.
The Bears are 6. I think they're 6.5 point unders.
And they're going to win. And they're going to win. That's crazy.
That's a lot of points to give on the road, on the grass, to a West Coast team.
And they're going to do it.
You're questioning this right now.
I'm not questioning it. I'm thinking that might be a Bet 365.
It is now time for a segment that is backed by popular demand. It's called Record Machine.
Record Machine.
Record Machine. Jeepers. Why does it sound so weird in my headset?
Because it's the worst sound effect we've ever had.
Record Machine. Yeah.
We could just cut that part out, right? Like, I don't know what was happening in here, and that's why I went really like Record Machine. Like, I was like, what are we? It's malfunctioning.
You didn't even join in on the Record Machine.
Well, the board malfunctioned. Like, I don't know what happened.
It was burning down. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds better. Just give me that every week.
Record Machine, franchise streak. So what the Record Machine is I come up with 3 insanely difficult, borderline impossible records that have been set through the course of history, and we decide 1, 2, and 3 which is most likely to fall, even though up front we acknowledge very rarely will any of these fall. Here's and it's franchise streaks.
Yeah.
Franchise
I'm
streaks
interested here.
is the name. So the first one is the Boston Celtics, 8 straight NBA championships. The second one, the Philadelphia Flyers, 35-game unbeaten streak. The last one, the Chicago Cubs, going 108 years without a championship.
Ooh. Now, are we talking these teams doing it, or just any team breaking
any
the record?
team breaking whatever record?
Jeepers.
What jumps out to you right away about this one? Because I brought my bag of tricks on this one.
Okay. I'll start here.
Yeah.
To say anybody can get to 8 straight championships, we could have seen it in our lifetime with Michael.
Could have.
You could have.
Yep.
You got 6. The James Jordan years where he plays baseball after his father dies, very much for the taking there. They would have pummeled Houston and Orlando like nobody's business. And Houston twice, I realize that. So you had a chance there at 8. The Flyers, 35 games undefeated. This in hockey seems to be very, very difficult. In the NBA, not so much. Guys get to teams get to 30, 32. It happens. LeBron's done it a couple times.
27 with the Heat.
The Heat, yeah. Some of the Lakers, you've seen that. Not in the NHL. I think there's too much variety on any given night. The 108 years, you have teams that aren't even. Well, you'd have teams that are just on the backside of that number. Teams that haven't, the Leafs haven't won since 61. The Browns haven't won in the Super Bowl era.
Cleveland, I believe, 1948 is
48 or 58.
48.
For the Browns?
No, for
For the Cleveland Indians?
Guardians.
Yeah, correct. The Guardians. Yeah, so 48. So you're circling the wagon. You still need 40 years. It's a tough one. Before I give my ranking, I'm gonna leave it out there. You guys go ahead.
8 straight NBA titles. You think about how great the Golden State Warriors dynasty was. I mean, they didn't come close to doing that.
What do the Warriors get? 4 out of 7?
Yeah, 4 since 2015. Yeah.
I mean, 1 set of back-to-backs, I think, right? Or did they get 2? No, they win 2015, lose 2016,
win
17, 18, lose 19.
Yeah.
Win 22.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hear your point. I think the NBA has changed in the sense of, I mean, not that there wasn't free agency in the Chicago Bulls years. I think it's maybe a little bit different. Maybe, but also the invention of super teams. They don't really hang together that long.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be absurd for a basketball team or any team of that sort to even make it to the final that many times, let alone win. The Philadelphia Flyers 35-game unbeaten streak. There was a Montreal Canadian team that was literally lost 8 games an entire season, and they didn't even do this.
Yeah, true.
They were at 28, and 28's a long way from 35. There's no ties anymore.
Yeah.
So you're winning or losing every single night. There's so many back-to-backs. There's 3 and 4 nights. This hasn't even, what's been close to this? There was it the Islanders or Columbus that won 13 in a row or 14?
Yeah. Mario had 16 undefeated with the Pens to finish the season.
I just don't even remember this ever even getting to 21, 22. And we talk about it all the time. Parity is so huge in the National Hockey League.
Columbus won 16 in a row in 2016.
You have to double that to even
and
you're still not even there.
17 and 93.
You're still not even there.
Yeah.
The Chicago Cubs, 108 years without winning a championship. In baseball in particular, and really all sport, they have expanded the playoffs. So for context, when did they bring in the division series? 68, 69?
69.
So prior to, between 1908, their previous World Series, and 1969, you had to win the league. It was the hardest championship to win from that perspective. You literally had to have the best record over 154 games and then later 162 games. Now you've got additional wild cards thrown around. Yeah. There's going to be teams that sneak into the playoffs as the last wild card team and go on a run because it's so unpredictable. And there's short series too, right? There's a best of 5 here,
3,
a winner take all, blah, blah, blah. So it's hard for me to believe that a team is going to go that long without winning a championship. These are all extremely hard. Matt, on the surface, what do you say?
I think you're right. None of these will probably be broken anytime soon. The closest we could get to one of these being broken would be next season in the NHL, obviously. Everything else is at least 8 years away. I think the most unbreakable, or the most likely to be broken, I'm getting my words mixed up again this week. This happened last week. Most likely to be broken is the Cubs. Just because, how long were the Red Sox? 80 plus years? We've seen teams
87?
get close. And some miserable teams just never win.
White Sox also sneaky. 1917 to 2005.
That's right.
Exactly. So some teams just never win. So I think that's the one that's the most likely, because with the other two, you have to be a good team. There's a lot more bad teams than good teams. So I think the Cubs are the most likely to be broken, followed by the Flyers, because I think it's easier to get hot for 35 games than it is for 8 years. 8 years is a long time. So I think the Flyers are second, and then the Celtics 8 championships in a row. You mentioned Golden State. They didn't even come close, and they're a dominant team. I think they're third.
I think he kind of nailed the order.
I'm the inverse.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
So just for clarification, I also have it the same way, Matty. I have Cubs, Flyers, Celtics. Mark, sell me on this. Which of those is the most likely to be broken?
It's not possible to win in today's day and age with parity and free agency. It's not possible to win 8 straight anymore. It's not. You could you could have an entire generation of fans that don't win. The Cincinnati Bengals is, you have to have the teams that wallowed in the mire of the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, like the Cubs did, in order to have a shot here. There's a lot of opportunity, considering that the leagues have only grown in terms of the number of teams. There's still only one trophy. Yeah, they've expanded the playoff windows in baseball, but nobody will win 8 straight championships. The Yukon women's team didn't even win 8 straight, and they were a wagon.
And you think that's the most likely to be broken?
That's the least likely.
Well, that's what we said also.
Least likely.
Yeah, that's our number one.
Oh, see, I have these.
We
things
went from
in
most likely to get broken to least likely.
Okay, so yeah, least likely is the Celtics. The Flyers at 35. It just can't compete over a 108-year span. There's like 108 years is, oh my gosh.
It's like 3 generations.
You couldn't imagine having an entire lifetime where a person could have been born, lived to be 107 and died and not got a World Series. It's not exactly like Donnie Baseball going from coming in after the Yankees win a World Series and leaving before the Yankees win a World Series. It's your lifetime.
So I think, did we all agree?
We all
unanimously agree.
Yeah, I just put my numbers upside down, but yeah, that's exactly what it was.
This is much less chaotic than last week.
It was.
And we can thank one thing.
Record Machine.
Record Machine.
Sports oddity of the day.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke. Are we familiar with Mickey Rourke?
Yes.
Iron Man 2 is the greatest film.
Iron Man 2. The Wrestler.
The Wrestler, yeah.
If we're going to that theme. Randy the Ram Robinson.
That's enough wrestling.
There's a time where he challenged Usain Bolt to a foot race. This was as part of an interview that Bolt did. He said, quote, people challenge me all the time, but the only person that was the biggest thing was Mickey Rourke. He challenged me to a race, and I thought he was joking. And he's like, no, seriously, let's go. In the streets at 3 a.m. He took off his shoes and everything and ran at me for about 20 meters. He said, how many meters did you beat him by? He said, like 19. Bolt then laughs. It was good fun, though. In a plot twist, it's possible Rourke actually gave Bolt a run for his money, so to speak. In 2012, the actor told his version of the story to Martin Rogers of Yahoo Sports. Rourke claimed that he got a head start and said, but at least I won something that night, end quote. So did he beat Usain Bolt? I don't know. But imagine going to him and
I once helped the world's strongest man, Eddie Hall, pick up a bookshelf because he wasn't strong enough.
Edward Hall?
Yeah, take my story for it. No, not his.
Sports oddity.
I have a sports oddity.
Okay.
This is why college football is the greatest. It's the purest form of any sport is watching it at the college level. Last Saturday night, you may have tuned in or heard that UNC defeated Appalachian State 63-61. Mm-hmm. There are a few sports oddities in here that you may not know of. Appalachian State scored 40 points in the fourth quarter and lost. They missed 2 2-point conversions and lost. The real kicker is that they scored exactly half of the points in the fourth quarter combined. UNC scored 22 and Appalachian State scored 40 in 62 points in 15 minutes. Nobody tried. There was no defenses. Here's the thing that's strange. You would think in that many touchdowns, there was one player that rushed for over 100 yards. Not one player caught over 100 yards. Not one. The quarterback for Appalachian State, Price, he threw 6 touchdowns, and that was the most by 2. Nobody else scored more than 4, rushed for more, received more than 4. So you had one rusher over 100 yards. You had nobody caught over 100 yards. And the quarterbacks themselves, Bryce scored 361, and May for UNC threw 352.
Good games, not staggering 700-yard Matt Dunnigan games.
You would expect that to be two Matt Dunnigan type performances where both guys gunsling, both guys threw 600 yards, one guy went in. Absolutely not. The absolute inverse, but you still managed to put 124 on the board. That's a sports oddity.
That's pretty
So
crazy.
I saw the ending part because that was all that was sort of triculating around social media.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just a bunch of turnovers, short fields?
So there was a bunch of short. There was a lot of times where they couldn't
Special
get themselves
teams?
off the field. Only one kick return, or UNC scored on one kick return. Appalachian State, I think, also had they had none, no returned kicks.
That's something where if it's available on YouTube, I'll need to flip it on and be like, okay.
Just watch the 15 minutes.
How
The
did
rest
this
of it was
happen?
pedestrian. They had a 40-point lead going into the fourth quarter and nearly blew it. Unbelievable.
By the way, I don't know too many other locations other than the Capital PTBO that rocks a lot of U.S. college gear.
Yeah, and we could do a lot more. There's some licensees that don't have access to NCAA, like specifically Zephyr, but shout out Jeff Sargentson, our rep, who rocks Zephyr. He is trying, but the Canadian marketplace is a much different marketplace for licensing of NCAA, but it is something that we will continue to grow with. We've got to get on board with the right brands, but it's terrific. It's a wagon, UNC or NCAA.
Maybe the one that jumped out the most to me was I was shocked that Notre Dame played as well as they did against Ohio State. Ohio State, great defense. They're going to be a good team.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame certainly held themselves accountable because I think the line going into that game was about 17.5.
Yeah.
The other one that jumped out was the defending champion Georgia Bulldogs, who laid it all over the Oregon Ducks, 49-3. And Oregon was, what, a number 11?
11.
Yep.
Bad start to the season. Terrible.
49-3.
Yeah.
And
They
think about
looked
all the
dominant.
different color combinations they have with their uniforms.
Sure. Georgia, that was a woodshed moment.
Yeah.
Like Oregon Ducks.
Oh, you think we're the third seed, do you?
Yeah. Let us turn you on to
And this is a team that I think, what did they, like 11, 12 players to the
Go
NBA,
to the NFL. Yeah.
draft?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they're left with?
Yeah.
Is like this team?
It's tough.
The Dogs.
The other
It's gonna be
thing,
good.
Coach O from LSU, it looks really good after he took the $17 million from LSU. Said, "Oh, you don't want me anymore? No problem. I'm out. Pay me $17 million." The $100 million man, Brian Kelly, comes in,
Loses.
completely defaces his bed.
Yes.
It was terrible.
A lot of great stuff. And hey, this was a fun show. This has been the Capital PTBO Sports Show, an MNC podcast production, streaming wherever you do your downloading. Also simulcast on your TV, Peterborough, Lindsay. You can, of course, check us out anytime at the Capital PTBO. We are at 370 George Street North. For Mark Million, producer Matt Latour, I'm your host, Jordan Mercier, and we will talk again next week.